look at this. Mother Nature lighting up the sky over the inland Northwest. We've heard thunder, we saw lightning overnight, and today we're expecting an encore. Good morning, I'm Kalai Chalk.
A tough act to follow. I'm Sam Adams. We begin this morning in the Weather Center with Leslie Lowe. And Leslie, this might just be only the beginning right now.
Yeah, Mother Nature, she likes to outdo herself, right? Storm after storm. So with those storms, we're tracking fire danger in our region and across the country. Crews are on high alert in the Southwest with the threat of a rapid fire spread and red flag warnings that are in place. This is video out of California, one of several states that are battling growing flames. We're also talking about fire danger right here in our area. You can see this map here, the lower Columbia Basin, that area shaded in yellow. Definitely seeing that concern, and with that threat of showers and thunderstorms in our forecast, that's always a big concern. Let's take a look at our day planner for today. You can see that we're pretty quiet as we head through the first half of the day. Temperatures are going to heat up, and we will see some sun breaks. It's those breaks in the clouds. It's those warm temperatures that are the fuel for those systems moving in. We're going to time out when those thunderstorms are set to arrive. We'll talk about who will likely see the most severe of those thunderstorms when we see you back here coming up in just a few minutes. All right, showers and thunderstorms are possible tonight, guys.
We'll be ready. Thank you, Leslie.
All right, let's get a look at the top headlines this morning.
Yeah, in Seattle, armed demonstrators have reportedly set up checkpoints at the so-called Chaz. That's the area on Capitol Hill where police evacuated and protesters have taken over. The group has a long list of demands, like getting rid of police and the court system.
And one of the 4 Minneapolis police officers arrested in the death of George Floyd has been released on bond. The attorney for Thomas Lane says Lane had only been on the job as a Minneapolis police officer for 4 days, and says that Lane asked twice to roll Floyd over while he was on the ground being held down by Chauvin. They also say that Lane performed CPR on him in the ambulance.
The Minnesota legislature will hold a special session today to review new police reform and accountability measures. The new reform package will address immediate and long-term solutions to end police violence.
Visitations will be held for another man killed by law enforcement, and officers say this happened during protests. They say surveillance video shows 53-year-old David McAtee fired a weapon and was shot and killed by law enforcement who was trying to break up a crowd. His death is under investigation.
Right now, the nation is remembering one of the deadliest mass shootings in U.S. history. On this day in 2016, Omar Mateen opened fire inside a LGBT nightclub, Pulse, in Orlando. 49 people there were killed and more than 50 others were injured. Mateen was shot and killed by police that night. In honor of these shooting victims, all flags will fly at half-staff today in Florida. The Orlando community also planning to hold a virtual tribute and remembrance ceremony.
Well, June is LGBTQ Pride Month, and this weekend was supposed to be the annual Pride Parade in downtown Spokane. That's changing this year because of coronavirus restrictions. So organizers are taking their movement virtual. KHQ's Stephanie Stevenson is live now. And Stephanie, leaders say that Pride started out as a protest, but their motivation to stay proud hasn't changed.
Good morning, Kalai. Well, from drag performances to poems to giveaways, Pride has made their performance online just as powerful and as colorful as they would have in the streets. Take a look at your screen because this is some of the video from last year's Pride Parade. Now, I spoke with the Out Spokane's organizer, and he said that the conversations and the celebration online exceeded all of his expectations. But this week, Stephen says it's also a reminder that the protests that we're seeing right now on the streets is how Pride was started. And this is why movements like this remind the LGBTQ community what they're still having to fight for.
It was a riot as well. It started off with people in the streets doing very similar things that they're doing now. The movement, the motivation, the intent hasn't changed. It's still the same.
Now, the theme all week is Stay Proud, and there's a lot more to look forward to this weekend because right now I'm here at the Spokane Pavilion because behind me tomorrow at 8:30 there's going to be a rainbow light show, but there's also a couple other things that are happening tonight and tomorrow as well, so we're posting all that information for you on our website. In Spokane, I'm Stephanie Stevenson for KHQ Local News.
Stephanie, thank you. Now to new developments surrounding coronavirus cases in the Northwest. We're hearing now about a new case in Spokane that could have had the potential to spread into an outbreak. Spokane Veterans Memorial Arena, currently being used as a homeless shelter. Someone staying there has tested positive for COVID-19. When they learned they were infected, they went into isolation. A triage team was sent to the arena. 21 people who had been around that person then also went into isolation. They got tested, and the health district's doctor, that's Dr. Mark Springer, said all of their cases came back negative.
Those people who test negative and who were isolated are now allowed to come back to the shelter, because they're negative for COVID.
Yep.
From that information, what we have right now, that's pointing us to this is an isolated exposure, but we're not seeing any evidence of an outbreak.
There are now 5 new cases in Spokane County. That brings the total to 792. 37 people have died. Right now, there are currently 7 patients in the hospital. That's down from 9 just a day before.
Looking ahead to school in the fall, the Washington State Superintendent of Public Instruction has now released new guidelines. So many parents and students have been waiting for this. The office is calling for proper hygiene and social distancing. And the most notable guideline is the recommendation for students and teachers and guests, everyone in the building, to wear masks, unless a person has a health condition that prevents them from wearing one. Desks will be 6 feet apart, and if classrooms are too small, they can move into the cafeteria or the gym. Districts can also stagger meals and recess and start times if necessary, and they'll need backup plans in case students aren't ready to come back to campus.
If the spread of COVID-19 didn't happen, Hoopfest 2020 would have been taking place in about 2 weeks. Good news is it's still now on schedule for late August. If and when that does happen, it's going to look a little different, though. Executive Hoopfest Director Matt Santangelo says Hoopfest will be at about 50% capacity, which means fewer teams, less courts, and limited spectators. Other changes include eliminating bleachers and moving Nike Center Court to the pavilion. Santangelo says Hoopfest organizers are working closely with public health officials and the city of Spokane.
But it's great to have something to look forward to that brings people together, especially in light of everything that's happening. I mean, the one thing I've always been grateful for being involved with Hoopfest is how it brings everyone from every walk of life. It's a big melting pot.
Now, the biggest goal is to make sure all competitors and fans remain safe when Hoopfest does happen.
I love Hoopfest.
Yeah.
Love Hoopfest.
And the trickiest part about reopening has been some people are done being told what to do and they don't want anyone to tell them what to do.
Right.
Other people are like, tell me exactly what to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're kind of in this weird zone of, obviously, we want to get involved in Hoopfest. We will be. But what will that look like, and what are the steps we're supposed to take?
The same thing. I'm like, what will that look like?
Yeah.
It'll still be fun, regardless, right? Because it always is. Hoopfest is a blast.
It's not Spokane without Hoopfest.
It's true.
I mean, if there's something to look forward to, that is it in August. And again, it's nice to hear what the guidelines would be if and when it happens in August.
And it'll be fun to be, as the sponsor, sitting next to the former
Yes.
SWX sports guy.
Perfect.
While we cover this.
Yeah, because then we'll know what we're talking about, or at least we'll ride off the coattails of somebody who knows what he's talking about.
I'm going to say things like, yes, Sam. Good point. I was just going to say that.
Just
Gosh,
say,
I was thinking the same thing.
slam dunk. That's all you got to know. And we've got a Hoopfest team. We've got 3 people. I'm just saying.